Free the land. This has been with your Black Agenda Report, morning shot for September 17, 2010. The Philadelphia Inquirer reports that Governor Rendell said Tuesday that he was, quote, appalled and, quote, end quote, embarrassed that his administration's Office of Homeland Security has been tracking and circulating information about legitimate protests by activist groups that do not pose a threat to public safety. Rendell said he did not know that the State Office of Homeland Security had been paying an outside company to track a long list of activists, including groups that oppose drilling in the Marcellus Shale, animal rights advocates, and peace activists. The office then passed that information on to large groups of people, including law enforcement and members of the private sector. Rendell said that he will not fire or discipline anyone in the Office of Homeland Security, headed by Director James F. Powers, Jr. for the lapse. But he said he ordered the office to terminate its contract with Philadelphia-based Institute of Terrorism and Research Response, which he said had been paid $125,000 in the last year to gather data about possible security threats. Instead, the governor said the company passed on alerts about legitimate protests, and the State Homeland Security Office then disseminated them in an intelligence bulletin that it publishes 3 times every week. The bulletin included information about a pride fest by gays and lesbians, a rally about his administration's education policy, and an anti-BP candlelight vigil. Rendell stated, "Tell me what critical infrastructure does the gay and lesbian pride fest threaten?" Rendell asked, "How in Lord's name can we consider them to be terrorists?" This event and revelations late last year that Homeland Security was spying on the Nation of Islam fueled speculation that the FBI's counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO, whose stated mission was to disrupt, discredit, and otherwise neutralize black nationalist organizations, did not end, but simply changed form. All black activists must be cautious in this borderline fascist atmosphere. The so-called post-racial mayor of Washington, D.C., Adrian Fenty, lost the Democratic primary to Vincent Gray. Gray won the primary due to a wave of black discontent, summed up in a Washington Post op-ed by Cortland Milroy. Milroy states, having taken office promising to cradle the most vulnerable residents, Fenty set out almost immediately shooting the wounded, closing homeless shelters, forgetting about jobs training programs, firing city workers with a wave of a callous hand, black female households more often than not. Fenty boasted of being a hard-changing can-do mayor, but he couldn't find time to meet with 98-year-old Dorothy Height and 82-year-old Maya Angelou. Respect for elders. That's too old school for Fenty. Diss the sisters. His supporters will understand. In reference to controversial D.C. Schools Chancellor Michelle Reed, Milroy continues, she's creating a world-class school system, they text. As for you blacks, don't you even know what's good for you? So what if Fenty reneged on his promise to strengthen the city from the inside by helping the working poor move into the middle class? Nobody cares that he has opted to import a middle class, mostly young whites, who can afford to pay high rent for condos that replace affordable apartments. Don't ask Fenty or Reed whom this world-class school system will serve if low-income black residents are being evicted from this world-class city in droves. The removal of Mayor Fenty could spell trouble for other so-called race-neutral candidates such as Barack Obama and Mayor Cory Booker of Newark. Is this the beginning of a black revolt against post-racialism? Only time will tell. And finally, Ronald Walters, one of the country's leading scholars of politics of race, who was a longtime professor at Howard University and the University of Maryland, died Friday of cancer at Suburban Hospital in Bethesda. He was 72. Dr. Walters was both an academic and an activist, cementing his credentials with his early involvement in the civil rights movement. In 1958, in his hometown of Wichita, he led what many historians consider the nation's first lunch counter sit-in protest. Later, he became a close advisor to Jesse Jackson as one of the principal architects of Jackson's 2 presidential campaigns. He participated in summit meetings of black executives, political leaders, and scholars, and in 1977 was a founder of the Trans-Africa Forum, a group that led the fight against South African apartheid and sought to improve conditions in Haiti. Dr. Walters, we stand on your shoulders. This has been, with your Black Agenda Report, Morning Shot, signing off, saying, free the land.